Last week, abstract artist Hendrix Wright sold this painting, Youth in Verdum, for $7.3 million at Sotheby's Contemporary. In its patchwork texture, impure colour and inverted pop references, the work is quintessentially American and Wright's third sale this year, making her one of the hottest young artists of the contemporary era. Or it would, if this wasn't a page from my primary school scrapbook. But if you believed it sold for what it did, you had good reason to. Within the last 5 years alone, this painting sold for $11.9 million. This one for £1.5 million. Cy Twombly's Untitled sold for $59 million, and this NFT sold for $69 million. Then there's my personal favourite, this conceptual artwork, Io Sono, or I Am, by Italian artist Salvatore Grauhis, which sold for €15,000. It is a 5 by 5 foot space full of nothing. These works, like most modern and postmodern art, divide people endlessly. Only 12% of lay people surveyed on 2016 Turner Prize entry My Bed classified it as art, while this painting, The Singing Butler, was viewed as art by 94% of the public, but hated by critics, which begs the question, what went wrong with art? In the early 20th century, the camera slowly became the artist's best representational tool. Societies saw increased industrialization and urbanization, 2 world wars, developments in psychology, and disillusionment with institutions. While this led to a range of artistic styles which rebelled against those traditional, art still strived for representation, if not in the exact replication of its subjects, at a minimum, in the feeling of them. And then we arrived at the contemporary. The current art movement, led by postmodernism, focuses on the abstract and conceptual. It rejects old notions of value and meaning and replaces them instead with irony, intertextuality, fragmentation, and self-awareness.
Modern art?
Modern art. Our specialty, starting now.
I don't get it.
Of course you don't.
Am I too old?
Of course you are.
Why is this good?
It isn't good. Wrong idea.
Much of today's anti-real art rejects traditional technique and emphasizes issues at a society level. It focuses on what you, as the viewer, bring to it more than what it itself brings. And, like your dad's favorite news channel, it aims to shock you.
That is shocking, and it's insulting.
And the business of contemporary art, the game it plays, is the game of socially engineering value. This is done by manipulating supply and demand. Supply is often controlled by dealers who task their artists with producing less than they're actually capable of. And demand, or an artist's reputation, can be bolstered by a number of things, like the reputation of the dealer, events for high-status buyers, reviews from in-network critics, and the positioning of the artist's work beside that of other expensive artists. An artist's work, worth nothing in a studio, can instantly be valued at hundreds of thousands, if not millions, by placement beside other expensive works. Even if an artist has nothing to offer the room, the simple fact that he or she is in it removes doubt of their status from the buyer's mind.
Yes, right out of existence.
These strategies used today were made famous by legendary dealers like Leo Castelli, who established the modern concept of gallery representation. Under the old system, galleries sold the work and split the profit with the artist. An artist's success was therefore influenced by the quality of each work on its own. But under the Castelli model, artists had salaries and expenses paid. The dealer tracked their market to make sure prices didn't get too inflated, and the gallery guarded the brand of the artist with the press. This means a truly talented dealer can convince a small ecosystem of critics and buyers that the naked emperor is in fact wearing clothes, or that his clothes are more important than they are.
On Wednesdays, we were
abstract expressionism.
So, for the last 70 years, dealers and artists haven't just defined their prices, they've defined movements. Castelli famously said, "There are those unsuccessful abstract expressionists who accuse me of killing them, but they were dead already. I just helped remove the bodies." So it's no wonder that the average person, when reading about contemporary art sales, feels alienated. you feel alienated because the work simply was not made for you. The successful art is generally made for a small, exclusive domain of invitees, not the mass market. When Castelli controversially decided not to sign his abstract artist friend William de Kooning remarked that son of a bitch give him 2 beer cans and he could sell them. Then, to play out the joke, Castelli tasked his star artist with casting 2 cans of Ballantine ale in bronze. Then he sold them to a taxi baron couple for $960, or just under $10,000 in today's money. The point is, the guy could sell anything. And success in fine art, like success in music, writing, entrepreneurship, fashion, movies, and all of the other high-risk creative endeavors, is about selling as much as it is about building. History is rife with stories of lone artists who spent years at their craft, never figured out how to market it, and were only discovered centuries after they were dead. Because they could build, but they couldn't sell. Which leaves the sellers to grow the sophisticated art ecosystems which offer wealthy buyers the many uses of art. At its most basic level, good art is an investment.
I bought some artwork for $1 million. 2 years later, that shit worth $2 million.
Paintings, like gems and jewelry, contain a high concentration of value in a relatively small object. They're simple to move, simple to store, and simple to sell. And if the value of the art, as determined by the ecosystem, increases, the owner can donate it to a museum and claim the profit as a tax write-off. For example, if you buy a painting for $10 million today, then in 2 years, when it's worth $25, you donate it to a gallery, you get a $25 million tax write-off. Not only does this save you $15, it also makes you a good person. Alternatively, if a buyer's tax bill isn't high enough for that strategy to work, they can, with the help of excellent lawyers and accountants, capitalize on one of the 3,500-odd jurisdictional grey zones called free ports. Here, they'll be anonymized. Their art will be safe in instances of political unrest, and what's more, they can privately sell it to a buyer without moving the art from the port. The law is grey, but there's reason to believe complete anonymity is possible for those who want it. The extent of Freeport use is gigantic. The Louvre, the largest museum in the world, holds around 380,000 art objects and displays 35,000. The Geneva Freeport holds 1.2 million and displays none. It is the greatest art collection no one can see. These are just some of the strategic uses of art, and none of these strategies are entirely new. But when people see big gambles being taken on contemporary, abstract, or conceptual works which pale in comparison to those of seemingly superior artistic value, they get angry and confused, and the quality of art devolves. Saturn devouring his sun has shocked us for 200 years. The cringe art mini-movement may shock a small subsection of people for 2 months. Art has always had social value, but now metaphorical meanings are eclipsed by the pressing desire to change the world right away. Minimalist art focuses on what the viewer subjectively brings to it, but it doesn't need to, because no matter what, the viewer will do that anyway. You don't stop bringing your perspectives to a work simply because it is a Rembrandt. If you wanted to pay money to explore nothing but your own point of view, you'd go to a therapist. And if you wanted to have a Rorschach test done on you, you'd commit some crimes. But when we go to a gallery, we want the divine. We can find it in the ordinary, and we can find it in the spectacular, but it has to be there. When art takes us to places we have not seen and feelings we have long forgotten, it has real utilitarian value. It makes us better thinkers, better friends, and more understanding people. But when art needs a plaque or a high-status critic to explain why it should move us, it misses the point. So yes, art is in a somewhat dire state, but maybe we should expect to feel this way. Because every new era thinks the art of its generation has gone downhill, but chances are, 100 years from now, today's art will be superior to what's around at the time. Not all modern art is bad, and not all old art is good. But because we are living now, we compare all of our current art with the best art of the past. The top 1% of old art probably occupies 99% of our memory of its period. The difference is that past works typically had something many new ones don't: sincerity of intention. They viewed mankind as a species worthy of development, of spiritual enlightenment, stimulation, being moved, beauty, and being reflected in our humanity entire. So why shouldn't we? It's on us as art lovers to vote with our taste, as viewers to turn away from naked emperors, as buyers to seek true value, and as makers to bring it into being. And in doing so, act on the belief that whether it takes a year or a century, talent, just like heat, will rise.